Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on breast cancer in the era of COVID-19. I'm Rangika Vijayasinghe, co-founder and Chief Operations Officer at HealthNet. October is the International Month for Breast Cancer Awareness. Awareness and early detection is the key in preventing breast cancer. Therefore, HealthNet, Sri Lanka's most trusted online pharmacy, is collaborating with National Cancer Control Program of Ministry of Health and Indira Cancer Trust to raise awareness on breast cancer, and this webinar is as a result. Firstly, I must thank for the National Cancer Control Program, Ministry of Health and Indira Cancer Trust for collaborating with us on this worthy cause. Before we start the session, I kindly request the audience, if you have any questions during the session, please drop in our Facebook comment section and we'll take them at the end of the session during the question and answer session. As you all know, the breast cancer is the most common type of cancer amongst women. Today, it's impacting 2.1 million women in the world every year. According to WHO, only in the year 2018, 627,000 women died due to breast cancer. And there is no difference with the trends and prevalence in Sri Lanka. So in order to bring you a wealth of knowledge on the topic today, let me introduce the panel of experts who are joining with me with the session. We have Dr. Sachini Rasnayaka, consultant oncologist, cancer specialist, Dr. Lanka Disanayaka Jayasuriya, the chairperson of Indira Cancer Trust, Mrs. Chintika Dimel, breast cancer survivor and volunteer coordinator at Indira Cancer Trust, and we have Dr. Janaki Vidanapathirana from the National Cancer Control Program. Dr. Janaki Vidanapathirana is the director of the National Cancer Control Program, Ministry of Health. She is a public health consultant and behavior change trainer at national level. Dr. Vidanapathirana also conducts research in epidemiology, infectious diseases, and public health. She has many publications in both local and international level. Also, she has done many researches in relevance to public health. Dr. Janaki, over to you.
Thank you very much, Rangika, giving a very nice introduction for me. Can you please give me the permission to share my screen?
You can share the screen.
No, it has disabled. All right, thank you. Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank HealthNet as well as Indira Cancer Trust for giving me this opportunity. I am very pleased to join with you all to give some facts on breast cancer. Actually, this is the month of Pink Month. It is a Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Globally, as well as Sri Lankan people, we conduct many activities to give awareness for breast cancer. First of all, I want to highlight to breast cancer is the highest cause of cancer among female, both globally as well as Sri Lankan people, especially among Sri Lankan female. So then, and also this is a cancer. If we detect it very early, we can prevent, we can completely cure if you treat very well. So then when we consider the global statistics, out of the all female cancers, the breast cancer is the top main cause of cancer, that is 24% out of all female cancer. When compared to Sri Lankan situation, it is higher than the world situation. This is 26% out of the the female cancers. So as Rangika mentioned, Actually, in the global situation, 1.38 million new cases in 2018. And out of that, 458 deaths uh, due to breast cancer in each year. And majority, out of these figures, majority of these people are coming from low and middle income countries. Then breast cancer is occurring in both male and female. Female are 100 times higher risk of getting uh, breast cancer than male. So then actually in global situation, many people are diagnosed in the late stages. So in the cancer, there are 4 stages: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. Out of these stages, if you detect it early, means that is stage 1 and stage 2. If you detect it first 2 stages, then if we treat very well, then you can cure it, and the survival rate is very high. So in majority of low and middle income countries, they detect the breast cancers in last 2 stages. So that means the survival rate of, as well as the quality of life, as well as the quality of life and the survival rate is very low when you detect it during the last 2 stages. So then in the Sri Lankan situation, already I mentioned that is higher scores of cancer among female in Sri Lanka, and it accounts 26%. So in each year, usually 3,000 to 3,050 breast cancers are reporting per year. So that means 10 new cases per day, and 3 persons die each day due to breast cancer. Although these numbers are small per day, so then we have to think about the behind the story, especially these numbers. That means someone's sister, someone's mother, someone's wife, or daughter. So then the uh, behind the story, sometimes these ladies are breadwinner of this their families. Sometimes they may be having small children, and so then we have to think about this thing. And also the actually when you, if you detect these uh, first 2 stages, so then Dr. Shashini will explain you, the treatment cost is very much cheaper than when you treating in last 2 stages. So that means we have to, the government have to spend large amount of money when you are treating, but even though when we may treat these 2 stages, survival and quality of life is really low. So then in Sri Lankan situation, actually 59% of people diagnosed in first and second stage. Actually, then we have to increase this 59 to at least 80% first and second stages. So then if we detect it very early, then we can it is the treatment wise, it is cost effective, and the quality of life also increase. So then to detect this first and second stage, Dr. Lanka will explain you how to detect in early stages. So then exact cause of breast cancer remains unclear, but there are some risk factors. What is the risk factor? What is a risk factor? That means something that increases a person's chance of developing a disease, but that does not mean definitely cause the disease. So there are some risk factors for developing cancers too, breast cancers too. So then there are certain factors modifiable. That means you can change these factors. What are those factors? One is obesity. Obesity people have higher chances of getting breast cancer. So obesity means mainly due to high body mass index. You know the body mass, how to measure the body mass index, and unhealthy diet that really cause obesity, and lack physical inactivity. All those factors that leads to obesity. Obesity has high chances of getting breast cancers. The second modifiable factor is tobacco. Tobacco leads to, tobacco is a risk factor for 15 cancer in our body. So then breast cancer is one of the risk factor. Tobacco is one of the risk factor for breast cancer too. And next modifiable factor is alcohol. So then all those factors that is due to the negative behavior of persons. So then there are a lot of programs are there to reduce these risk factors. And these risk factors, obesity, tobacco, and alcohol, it's a sharing risk factor for many other diseases too, especially heart disease, other non-communicable diseases like heart disease, hypertension, diabetes. So there are some more unmodifiable risk factors. Being a female, so it is a higher chances of getting a breast cancer. Although men can get breast cancer, it is about 100 times more common in women. So then increasing age. So then over 80% of all female cancer occur among age more than 50 years. So in the Sri Lankan situation, our peak is starting from 40 and above, and again it is decreasing after 60. So then there are certain people, they born with abnormal genes. So we call BRCA1 and BRCA2. So you don't have to remember these things. Actually, this abnormal gene, what they actually these abnormal genes means they cancer is a condition that uncontrollable cell division, abnormal uncontrollable cell division. So when it is happening in breast, we call breast cancer. So these abnormal genes, these genes have a capacity that they don't have a controllable control of the abnormal cell division. So then the people who born with these abnormal genes, they are more higher chances of getting breast cancer. So there are some family history of blood cancer, especially blood relatives. So then therefore, when there is a family history, again, they have to undergo frequent screening. So then next risk factor is exposure to radiation. That is especially in the chest area. Various malignancies during childhood period, they have a higher risk of, if they get exposed to radiation, there are more chances of getting breast cancers during later life. So then there are some other minor risk factors. So then what are those risk factors? Early menarche. Early menarche is first menstrual cycle. If it is happening before the age of 12 years, it is a risk factor. And the late menopause, that is the last period of menopause is happen after age of 55, that is also risk factor. Then again, the women who do not have children, then it is we call nulliparity. So then that is also a minor risk factor. And also the people who are getting long-term hormonal replacement therapy due to various disease condition, those are minor risk factors for getting breast cancer. It is happy to say there are two protective factors from developing breast cancers. The one is breastfeeding, regular physical exercise. So already I mentioned physical inactivity that lead to obesity. Obesity has a higher chance of getting breast cancer. Breastfeeding actually, so then it is a protective factor from the breast cancer, and also it is associated with especially prolonged breastfeeding that prevent the less risk of getting breast cancers. So then Signs and symptoms. Actually, now, the breast cancer is the cancer. We can detect it very early. If you detect it very early and may treat it very well, so then it has good quality of life as well as good survival strength. So then how can we detect it? Then there are several methods: clinical breast examination and self breast examination. So the before going to this clinical breast examination is doing by a healthcare provider, but most important thing is the self breast examination can be done by the women itself. So then what are the signs you have to see? So actually, first you have to go to a secure place and you have to remove upper garments, and then after that you can go to in front of a mirror. Then you can rest your arms behind the head. Then after that you can look for abnormality of size of the breast, color, if there is any color change, shape and rash. So then there is yeah, by looking you can see the skin texture. Actually, if there is a dimpling, that means or like orange peel, then you have to see those things. And not only that, there are some people inverted nipple, swelling of breast, and there is some discharge coming from the blood stain discharge, or any other discharge. So discoloration of the discharge. Then you have to go and meet a doctor. So then not only looking for this thing, then you can palpate your breast. So then what are the things you have to palpate? If there is a thickening of breast, or you can feel a lump. So then after that you have to uh, palpate underarms. So then underarms, if there are some glands, we call lymph gland. So if there is a lymph gland enlargement under the armpit, then again you have to be cautious and you have to meet a doctor. So then look, palpate, and then if there is anything, any abnormalities of inspection, then palpation, then you have to go and meet a doctor. So then Dr. Lanka will explain you again how to do that and when to do that. So then sometimes some patients can get pain, but not always. The lump also, some ladies, they can get without lump too. So actually Dr. Lanka will touch TLC campaign. She will explain again. So then I'm not going to explain this thing. So again, finally, I want to highlight again. So this is a cancer we can detect very early by yourself, and then after that, if there is anything, then you have to go and meet a doctor. And if you detect it early at the first two stages, then there is a good survival rate with a very good quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Janaki Danapatirana, for sharing your expertise, knowledge, and insights on breast cancer. Once again, I wish to remind the audience, if you have any questions during the session, please drop them in the comments box in our Facebook page. With that, let me introduce the next speaker for today. That is Dr. Sachini Rasnayaka. Dr. Sachini Rasnayaka, consultant oncologist, cancer specialist, studied in Vishaka Vidyalaya, Colombo, obtained her MBBS from University of Peradeniya in 2004, MD in oncology from the University of Colombo, and trained in UK. Currently, she works as a senior consultant at Sri John Kotalawala Defence University, and also she works as a clinical oncologist at the University Hospital. Dr. Sachini, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rangika. Good evening, everyone. And we just now heard nice comprehensive introduction of breast cancer and breast cancer screening and breast cancer survival. If we screen properly, how the survival makes different. And now let's talk of breast cancer treatment. What are the treatment modalities and how you can go through treatment modalities, especially during this COVID pandemic. So I hope you all see my screen. Host disabled, still host disabled screening, sharing the screen.
Let us do that. Ama, will you?
All right, Dr. Janaki, will you be able to give
No,
me?
I already, now I am not sharing.
No, you have to make me a host if you don't mind. So at the bottom of the screen, you see
How
something.
can I do that?
At the bottom, you see the participants.
Yes.
Click on that. And when it opens, you see healthnet.lk.
Yes.
When you move your mouse to healthnet.lk, you see something called more.
Yes.
Click on more, and there
Yeah.
will be saying make host or change to host.
Yes.
Click on that. Okay, fantastic. Done. Thank you.
Dr. Sachin, you can now share.
Yeah, sure. So it's very interesting to think of breast cancer treatment during this COVID pandemic, especially we need to stay away from COVID, but we all understand, even if it's stage 1, 2, of course, it's very easy to cure. Still, even stage 3 and 4, we have enough experience that we can control the cancer. Sometimes we do cure. So with that understanding, keep this in mind, let's see how can we help them with this battle. Like one side you have cancer and the other side the COVID pandemic, then you need to have chemotherapy, radiotherapy, surgery. So like if we can think of like immediately after diagnosis of breast cancer, if you can think of what would be what are the concerns that comes to their mind, the patients and their loved ones, relatives, how can we get this cancer cured? So what are the correct pathway, and if we can guide them to the correct pathway, definitely they will achieve cure without any hassle. So as Dr. Janaki nicely explained, from screening the test, and then we need to do proper vital 3 cardinal test in order to get the histological confirmation of breast cancer, where we need to get true cut biopsy or fine needle aspiration test, where you get the tumor tissue or the cancer cells out and see and confirm that there is a cancer inside with this particular breast. Meantime, we do staging to see how the extent of the tumor, whether it has limited or confined to the breast, or it has gone out to a close draining lymph nodes, or then systemically. Commonly, we can see breast cancer can metastasize. We do call spread to lungs, liver, brain, and bone. So we can do all the staging investigations to see whether it has gone out, or if it's confined to the breast, the cure is very easy. When it comes to surgery, the treatment, the most important and the first treatment modality for breast cancer is surgery. If it's very early and localized, we can just remove the tumor with enough margins. We do call it wide local excision. As you can see in this picture, we can localize the tumor as well as we can, by injecting dye close to the tumor or surrounding tumor, we can assess the spread of the lymphatic spread of tumor, so that it will guide us to get rid of lymph nodes, whether it's very important to get all the lymph nodes out or whether we can do only sampling. There are novel methods like good old days, 10 years ago, we used to take all the axillary lymph nodes out. So the adverse effect of taking all the axillary nodes out is the patient can have lymphedema or the swelling of that arm and restricted movements. But with this dye test and novel techniques, we can only do sampling. And if it's positive or if there are evidence of tumor spreading to the lymph nodes, only we do remove all the axillary lymph nodes. That's one of the use of advancements in breast cancer surgery. So there's a myth that people think if you diagnose with breast cancer, you may think that you may lose your breast, which is not so. So if it's very early in stage 1 and 2, you can spare your breast. Your breast will not get distorted and your appearance or the physical appearance will not get disturbed. As I clearly told you, like the stage 1, low risk patients will only have surgery and get 100% cure from the breast cancer. But if it's advanced and patient have high risk factors, for example, the high grade, that means the tumor doubling time or the rate of one cell become 2 is high, then we need additional treatment, which we call chemotherapy, in order to prevent it come back. Like we call it recurrence. So to prevent recurrence, we need to give chemotherapy. The aim of chemotherapy is that you inject a chemical agent which will act on rapidly growing cells. So that's why sometimes you do get side effects of chemotherapy, because it will act on all the rapidly growing cells, such as hair and certain endothelial, like the covering cells inside your mouth and gut. But it's very temporary. And the side effects, of course, we have a lot of measures and a lot of other supporting drugs in order to prevent those side effects. So not like the 10 years ago, the chemotherapy side effects, nowadays we can get rid of all the side effects, almost all the side effects of chemotherapy, and get the benefit with novel agents, which we call targeted therapy, where you don't need to address the rapidly growing cells only. You can address particular target or the particular cancer cell, where we call targeted therapy. Or there's another novel technique, which is personalized treatment, where we do assess the tumor genetics, get the tumor out and do the genetic studies of that particular tumor, and we do can offer them the genetic treatment or the targeted therapy. We are targeting to the particular tumor cells. So once you don't remove the breast and only remove the lump, your breast will remain. So then the remaining breast tissue will have the risk of coming the cancer again. In order to prevent recurrence or getting the cancer back, we need to irradiate the remaining normal breast tissue. So that's where you need radiation therapy to breast. So sometimes people do think if they want to get radiotherapy, they might think, oh my God, I have an advanced cancer, whereas the other patient who didn't have radiotherapy have very mild or very low-grade tumor, which is a wrong concept, where we give radiotherapy to very early low-risk patients because we only took the tumor out, and patient need radiotherapy in order to prevent the recurrence. There are certain other indications for radiotherapy where even if we get the breast, whole breast out, for very advanced, even stage 4 tumors, T4 tumors, we do downstage giving chemotherapy upfront, then do the surgery, and we need to give radiotherapy if axillary nodes, when your armpit or the axilla is involved by the tumor, then we need to give radiation therapy. Again, like there are patients have a fear of having radiotherapy, thinking that it'll be painful, whereas it is not. As you can clearly see in this picture, this lady who's receiving radiation therapy, the red marks are not radiation therapy, those are the laser beams where we need to immobilize or keep the patient at the same place to get the treatment or radiation therapy, which is a special kind of a light beam to get radiation therapy to the required area. So I'm going to escape like these risk factors where the Dr. Janaki already comprehensively addressed how we can get away from breast cancer and all the risk factors. But I need to discuss more about radiotherapy side effects, chemotherapy side effects. However, these days, the side effects will be very minimal because we prophylactically used to give certain measures. For example, tumor cells, if we are giving chemotherapy, I told you the chemotherapy will address the rapidly growing cells. For example, the bone marrow is a place where you have very fast growing cells. So then, meantime, while chemotherapy goes and destroy the cancer cells, they can temporarily destroy bone marrow cells where you get low white cell counts. Earlier, like 10 years ago, we tend to have the low counts and then suffer and then give treatment. But nowadays, worldwide, we do give prophylactically marrow stimulant. So then patient will not suffer with a lot of side effects related to chemotherapy. Nowadays, even in their 90s and 80s, we can see patients who are having chemotherapy happily and without much of a side effects. Radiotherapy, surgery, chemotherapy, targeted therapy, radiotherapy. Apart from that, there are special other treatment modality which is more important, which Dr. Janaki addressed that part because most of the breast cancers, 70% of breast cancers are hormone sensitive, where you can see hormone receptors on top of the cancer cells. So then if we can treat them with the home anti-estrogens, like when you see a cancer cell, we can see estrogen receptor or progesterone receptor on top of these cancer cells. So if we can give anti-estrogen, so they will no longer feeding with estrogen, or the hormone, female hormone will no longer feed these cancer cells because you are blocking the surface receptors. So hormone treatment, 10 years of hormone treatment where these hormone receptors are positive, can treat with hormone treatment. For a certain very 20% or lower percentage of breast cancers will not carry those hormone receptors. So then those patients will not have the benefit of having hormonal treatment. To wrap up, the treatment options for breast cancers is number one, for early breast cancer, surgery is the treatment of choice, and surgery itself will cure patients when the breast is conserved. That means we don't need to take the breast out, only tumor will come out, and then the remaining normal breast tissues need to get radiotherapy in order to prevent cancer comes back. Then the chemotherapy and radiotherapy, of course, will not give much of side effects, and it will when using novel modalities and the techniques, that will help patient to go through this treatment pathway without disturbing to their lifestyle modifications. Certain patients do continue their jobs, and they sometimes come from work to have chemotherapy and radiotherapy and go back to work. So nowadays, that much the treatment modalities are so simple and patient friendly, which we need to understand, because sometimes you may need to have, tend to have other options, that you try to seek other options with the fear of having side effects. So again and again, I'm telling, these days the cancer treatment doesn't give much of a side effect, and we have a lot of options to get through these side effects and minimize the side effects. And the most importantly, the cancer treatment is personalized now. According to tumor genetics, we give genetic treatments, targeted therapy, and personalized treatment. So it's no longer cancer will be a threat to all cancer patients, and they will have treatment and get cured easily without much of a trouble. I think I couldn't check my timing, so I'm sorry, Angika, how much time I have left to talk?
Almost taken of the session. Have more to elaborate?
Sorry,
Have more to elaborate, or you're done with the?
I can more. There may be more question time for my topic than elaborating more and more will not very easy to understand.
At the end, we have a question and answer session, Doctor.
Sure. So at last, I want to thank Indira Cancer Trust and National Cancer Control Program for making these kind of awareness programs where we can get the cancer diagnosed very early. So the cure is very easy. So you can get rid of from cancer easily when you are aware and when we can detect the breast cancer early. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sachini Rasnayaka, for sharing your expertise and very well explaining the available treatments for breast cancer. Before we move on to the next segment, I wish to remind once again for our viewers, you can drop their questions in our comments section. We'll take it as the question and answer session. With that, let me have the privilege of introducing our next speaker, that is Dr. Lanka Jayasuriya Disanayake. Dr. Lanka Jayasuriya is the chairperson and trustee of Indira Cancer Trust, which was set up in the year 2016 to support patients with cancer and their families with their needs ranging from physical, mental, and social needs, as well as support them financially. Over 23 projects were done with the pool over 500 volunteers. Dr. Lanka currently holds only volunteer posts at several organizations after a resignation from the post of World Health Organization. She is also an advocate for patients' right movement, and she's a member of the National Drug Policy Committee, as well as a member of the End of Life and Palliative Care Task Force, who is always presenting the patient's voice. Dr. Lanka, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rangika. Again, can I the screen sharing to start, please?
Dr. Sachini, I think you have to again let HealthNet take over the host position.
Please guide me now. I'm in participants, and then what should I do? Then HealthNet, yeah?
HealthNet more.
Then?
Make host.
Make host.
So you click on the more button, and then there's a drop down menu that says make host. You can make me a host.
Hi.
Am I showing the correct one?
Then make host.
Or change to host. Something like that.
HealthNet. Change to, sorry. Is it under HealthNet?
Amma,
Yeah.
will you
If you go to participants, and you click on participants, you see healthnet.lk.
Yeah, yeah, I'm there.
Next to the name, there's mute and more.
Yeah,
You click on more.
right.
You should be given a small list of things.
So I make host, right?
Yes.
Change host, right? Okay, I did it. Thank you so much.
Dr. Lanka, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much. Let me just thank you so much. So the previous speakers already spoke on several important issues. What I'm going to touch on is basically TLC, a very simple term. Normally TLC is basically giving extra attention to make someone or something feel a lot better. So it's a very simple test. And as Dr. Janaki and Dr. Sachini both mentioned, talking of breast cancer is fine. But what we need to do is, if we get breast cancer, we need to detect it early. Why we do that? Several reasons. Because earlier we detect it, the better outcome it is. So we live longer, we get better results. And also breast cancer is a cancer. If you detect it early, you can actually have a normal life. So many reasons for us to do this simple test. The message is very clear. This October, we have been from the beginning of the month, this is observed. Breast Cancer Month is observed every year. And why it's observed? It's a global movement. It's a pink movement. There's a pink ribbon which highlights breast cancer. It's highlighted so much because the cancer can be treated effectively. So the simple message that all of you hopefully should take out from this session is, if you are a woman over the age of 20 years, please examine yourself monthly. It's very unfortunate because when in Sri Lanka on the practices of women, we found that about 99.9% of the females in Sri Lanka do not, of all social strata, do not do a self-examination because they're not part of our lifestyles. We don't think about it. We always talk of investigations, but it's very clear, and I will explain that later on also, that the best and the first step all women should do is to examine themselves. It's a very easy step. TLC stands for moving away from the conventional tender loving care. We move on to touch your breast, look for any changes, and check for anything that is unusual with your doctor. So that's the simple message. So what do we look for? I think again, Dr. Janaki mentioned this, because also breast cancer doesn't always come out as a lump, because lumps are frightening. Wherever it comes, anywhere in the body, you tend to think of cancer. And cancer again is a word that people find quite frightening. So not all lumps are cancers, and also not all cancers turn up as lumps. So it can be changes in the skin of the breast. If you look at the picture at the bottom here, you can see some pictures there which shows the skin can be different. There can be a rash on the breast or some crusting. There could be a discharge from the nipple. Then the nipple could be inverted, or the direction could also be different. And also finally, you can get a lump. So these are called the 5 common signs that you would find. If there is breast cancer, these signs can pop up, but it doesn't mean that there are other things can also happen. So the basic message is, once you get to know what normal is, if there's anything, any deviation from the normal, you need to go to the nearest medical professional. So I'm just going to put a small clip. It was done as a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Health and the National Cancer Control Program. It clearly, because it's not a very scientific process. It doesn't need a lot of, you don't need a doctor to come and teach you. It's a self-explanatory process. Every person can do it. So it's just, these are all available on social media. So just have a look at it, which clearly explains the way to do a self-breast examination.
Most cases of breast cancer are found by women noticing unusual changes and visiting their doctor to get them checked. The earlier breast cancer is found, the better the chance of beating it, so it's important to check. No one knows your body better than you, and everyone will have their own way of touching and looking for changes. There's no special technique, and you don't need any training. Checking your breasts is as simple as TLC. Touch, look, check. When you touch your breasts, is there a lump or unusual pain either in the breast, upper chest, or armpit? Is there a lumpy area that doesn't go away? Is there any change to how the breast looks? It could be a different size or shape, or there could be a change in skin texture, such as dimpling or puckering, or the skin could look red or inflamed. What about the nipple? Is it inverted, turned in, when it normally points out? Is there any discharge or rash or crusting on or around the nipple? Check anything unusual with your doctor. It's good to get into the habit of checking regularly, maybe when you're in the bath or shower, or while getting dressed in the morning. You might prefer to do it while standing up or lying down. Everyone's breasts are different, and your breasts can change with age and at different times of the month. It's important to get to know how your breasts normally look and feel, so it will be easier to spot if there are any unusual changes for you.
So that clearly highlights how to do it. Just to recap, how to do it was explained in that video. When do you do the self-examination? So it has to be done every month. You do it 7 days after the start of the periods. Now, if you are a woman who is menopausal, you just fix a date every month, and it has to be the same day every month. You just do the self-examination. With new technology, there are so many ways of reminding oneself on breast examination. So there are apps which are freely downloadable. There are also calendars, you can put a reminder. So it's an easy thing, and it only takes about 10 minutes of your time, and it can be done anywhere. I think it was explained clearly, sitting down, standing up, in the shower, in bed, anywhere, but just allocating the time is the most important thing. What I would like to go into next is with early detection. There are very clear guidelines which are set out by the Ministry of Health and also the World Health Organization for breast cancer early detection. So this is basically what we are talking of today, is what you call screening. So every woman who doesn't have any symptoms at all should practice certain processes which should allow us to detect anything if it arises. So there are 3 paths to early detection of breast cancer. The first one is the self-breast examination. The second one is the clinical breast examination. And the third one is the screening mammography, ultrasound, or even in some cases, a screening breast MRI. It's clearly highlighted. It's highlighted as first, second, and third step, because that is the exact mechanism that we should follow. Because unfortunately in Sri Lanka, we have realized that self-breast examination is not practiced. Clinical breast examination, I'm just going to show you the guidelines on when to do it. Again, that happens on ad hoc basis. But the third component on mammographies and investigation facilities tend to be overused, because there are clear guidelines on when it should be done. So these are the guidelines that is recommended by the National Cancer Control Program. These are produced after extensive literature review and also in line with the World Health Organization recommendations for breast cancer. So the first one is that all women over the age of 20 years must examine themselves every month. Doing this, you will find something. If there is something abnormal, you will definitely go to a clinician. Then the next steps of further investigation happens, and the best part of this is that you can treat the person so that they become normal and they lead a normal life. Because as Dr. Sachini mentioned, treatment has advanced quite a lot. So if you detect it early, less interventional treatment is required. So less aggressive treatment in terms of surgery, in terms of chemotherapy. So it makes the life, the quality of the lady, their family, the health outcomes much better. The second one, it's clearly outlined that if you are a woman from the age of 20 to 40 years, you must have a clinical breast examination every 3 years. So clinical breast examination is something where you go to a medical professional and they examine your breast, again, looking for things that are similar to what we would look on a monthly basis. But with their clinical background, they are at a better place, kind of better opportunities there to detect anything abnormal if we had not detected. Now in Sri Lanka, I think there's an extensive healthcare system. We have a preventive, the MOH has the Well Women Clinic. It also has the healthy lifestyle clinics in the government sector. Then also the private sector is there, the GP system. So every 3 years, get yourself anywhere you like and get a clinician to examine your breasts. So the first one is monthly examination. The second one is clinical breast examinations every 3 years. However, if you are a woman over the age of 40 years, the clinical breast examination is recommended annually. We come to the third component. Now, screening mammography. There's a lot of discussions on this and various guidelines are there. However, in line and different countries have different cutoff ages for screening mammography. If you look at countries like UK, the screening mammography starts at during the 40s. However, in the Sri Lankan guidelines, looking at the available evidence, and also you have to look at the availability of the mammography machines as well. Now in the government sector, we have about 16 mammography machines, and out of that about 9 are digital mammography machines. There is also an extensive plan by the National Cancer Control Program to bring down screening mammographies so that at least there is a mammography unit in each province. So that's a start. But looking at the whole thing, screening mammography comes in only at the third stage, and it should be offered only once to, not every year. This is again something that we have seen with the annual medical checkup. A lot of people tend to do a mammography every year as well. The guidelines are very clear. The screening mammography is offered every 2 to 3 years for women aged between 50 and 69 years if they request it. Why they have put if they request it is again because of the lack of availability of mammography machines to do all island screening. So we don't have a screening program for breast cancer that involves mammography at the moment. The screening program that the Ministry of Health has for breast cancer is the breast self-examination, which is very good, and it's an excellent start to detect breast cancer at an early stage. Then these guidelines are very clear, but there are exceptions. So if you have a family member with a first degree or a second degree relative who's had breast cancer, the frequency increases. Then if they have had ovarian cancer or breast cancer before the age of 40 years, if they had relatives, again the frequency increases. If we also have a stage of breast cancer where it doesn't actually turn into cancer, but it is what you call in situ carcinoma, where it's not really changed. When that happens also, what you need to do is the frequency of screening has to increase. And also if they've had chest wall radiation, I think this was mentioned by Dr. Janaki also, then you are at a higher risk, so you need to monitor at a frequent interval. And also there is a gene called the BRCA gene. So some family members have, you see ladies who've had family members with sisters, mothers, aunts who've had breast cancer. So this is, if they've known to have the gene, then the frequency of screening goes up. So finally, what I would like to say is TLC is a very simple message. And this message goes out not only to the women, but also to the men. And one simple message is that this is a life-saving intervention. We have not done this before, but this October, 2020 October, we have used the whole month to emphasize the importance of TLC. So why, as the trust, we have never embarked on a preventive or early detection campaign, but we see patients walking through our doors on a daily basis. Chitrika, who's going to speak after me, will explain things a bit better. But the ladies who come to us, we see they are at a later stage, their diagnosis was delayed due to so many reasons. And so their outcomes are poor. So if we can at least detect the cancers early through a very simple intervention, which doesn't cost any money, but just a simple intervention, just requiring your commitment for 5 to 10 minutes every month, where all women over the age of 20 years make the time to examine yourself on a monthly basis by fixing a day. It should be 7 days after the start of the periods, or if you are a lady who stopped, who's on menopause, you have to fix any day and keep to that day every month. It's done. It's a simple procedure. It's available online. The National Cancer Control Program and Indira Cancer Trust, we've done animated videos which are available in all 3 languages, so you can easily access that. You find a comfortable place, you sit down, you stand up, you lie down, you do it in your bath, wherever you want to do it. You can do it anywhere, but it's a simple procedure taking 10 minutes of your time. So to the gents in the audience, a clear message to look after the ladies in your life, because women tend to neglect themselves most of the time. The families come first. So another message to the ladies are, do this for, if not for you, do it for your family. And to the gents out there, please emphasize the need of breast self-examination. Make time for her, encourage her to basically allocate a bit of time, 10 minutes, fix a date. Once it's done, it's just a matter of getting into a routine. Once it's done, it's going to be a habit that's going to last your whole life. And it's something, a simple intervention that is going to save a life, and also possibly any other unnecessary interventions. And breast cancer is not something to be feared. If detected early, you can have treatment, and the treatments have improved so much. The healthcare has improved so much. So it's not something to fear, but something that can be treated if detected early. So thank you so much. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lanka, for sharing your expertise, very well explaining us the TLC and conveying a very important message to each one of us. HealthNet is on a mission to bridge the gap in healthcare needs and enrich the lives of patients and caregivers. We wish to be known as ourselves as the only pharmacy that helps to stay out of medication. As a part of this mission, we got a blog where we cover health-related topics, relevant to each one of us, and discuss how to maintain a healthier lifestyle. You can also find our recent webinar we had last month, how to maintain a healthy heart on HealthNet blog. We wish to inform the audience that a complete recording of this session will be published on HealthNet blog. So anyone who joined us late would benefit from same. With that, let me introduce our next speaker, Mrs. Chintika Dimel. Mrs. Chintika Dimel is a breast cancer survivor and a volunteer coordinator at Indira Cancer Trust. She was introduced to Indira Cancer Trust from its inception in 2016 through one of her close friends. Her intention had always been to find a way of supporting those who are undergoing cancer and provide them with the confidence and strength to fight and win this battle. She started as a coordinator for hair and wig donation program, as hair loss was something that was found to be unbearable for most women during treatment. She is a resource person for NCD Alliance and is an international trainer for the OVOV, Our Voice, Our Weaves program, which creates a platform for patients' voices. Mrs. Dimel has spearheaded the patient support program for Indira Cancer Trust, and as a coordinator handles all media and advocacy work for Indira Cancer Trust. So over to you, Mrs. Chintika Dimel.
Thank you, Rangika. Good evening to everybody. my journey with cancer was 14 years ago when I randomly discovered a few lumps on my left breast. So it was quite unusual. And so I just mentioned it to my husband, and he said, well, we'll have to get somebody to check you out. And we went and met our family physician, and when she saw, she examined me, and then she said, I think you have to do a fine needle biopsy. Gave us a letter to go and do this test and come back to her with the report. So we did the test and came back with the report, and having seen it, she said, well, this shows that it's positive, and you will have to see an oncologist. So she gave me a letter to an oncologist, Dr. Jayantha Balawardena, and we made an appointment with him and went and met him. And yeah, so when we went and met him, we didn't know much about what cancer was, and so he explained the whole story, and he said you'll have to undergo a mastectomy, and also there'll be post-surgical treatment. So we were introduced to a surgeon, and then went and met the surgeon, and he too explained what it is, and fixed a date for surgery, and I had my mastectomy done. So I had to go back to Dr. Balawardena once I got my biopsy report. So when we went back to Dr. Balawardena, may have been a month or two later, he explained the whole post-surgical treatment, where he said, I will have to undergo chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and there'll be in between various tests and things to be done, scans to be done, and reports to be brought and shown him. And he said, when I take my chemo, there'll be loss of hair, loss of appetite, loss of weight, and a few side effects. So, but he said, don't worry, everything will be fine. You'll be okay. You'll get your hair back. In time, you'll get your hair back, and you'll get a good growth of hair, and you'll come back to normal. But please stick to what we ask you to do. So we set a date for chemotherapy to be done at the Apeksha hospital. And we came out of his room, and at that time, I was a little emotionally upset, because at the time I had a young family, 3 fairly small sons, and we knew we had to go back home and tell them. So I was rather quiet, and then anyway, my husband said, don't worry, Dr. Balawardena assured you everything will be okay. So there's nothing to worry. We go through it together. And came home and spoke to the children and told them, and a couple of weeks later, I started on my treatment. So having had the first cycle of chemotherapy, it was a bit difficult. On the day, it was okay, but the day after, I had nausea, and I couldn't eat, and felt very lethargic. And so anyway, took me about 2 weeks after my first injection. I had a shower, and I just was brushing my hair when my whole head of hair fell. I just didn't have anything left on my head. And at that time, I was a little upset, but then again, I thought, no, I have to be strong for my family at that time, because my children were going to school, my husband was working, and I knew if I fall, they will all fall. So I remember the words Dr. Balawardena said, don't worry, your hair will come back, everything will be normal, but just stay positive. So yeah, as time went and I was doing my chemo, in between we had to do various tests and go back to the doctor with reports. It was a bit of a grueling journey, but I used to keep telling myself, no, you're going to win your battle. You will come out of this, and you will come out stronger than you were. So there were times when there was nobody around, I would stand in front of the mirror and look at myself and just cry and wonder what happened. But there again, I thought, no, I am going to fight this battle. I will come round and I will win this battle. So yeah, I finished all my chemo and then went in for radiation. And that was not so bad, but all this took a few months. And when I finished my radiation, I was wondering how I could help somebody else who would be going through what I went through and what I was going through, because I know what it was with a young family. And of course, I had support from my extended family and friends. So that too helped me. Anyway, after all my treatment finished, along the way, a friend of mine, quite by chance, told me that there is a place called the Indira Cancer Trust and they're looking for volunteers and whether I would like to join them. I was a little hesitant at the beginning, but then again, I thought, no, this is what I was looking for. I was wanting to step in and help somebody who would have been going through what I was going through. So a notice which appeared saying there was an orientation and whoever wanted to. Yeah, can I share my screen? There are 1 or 2 flyers I want to show.
Sure, go ahead.
Share my screen, please.
You can do that.
Yes, so I went for the orientation, and then at the orientation we were told there are a lot of programs, 23 programs in all, and we could select which one we would like to get involved with. So there was a hair and wig donation, and there was a birthday program. You could all see it on the screen, all the programs we have. And also I must tell you, at the time I lost my hair, it was a huge battle I had to fight, because I had lost quite a lot of my dignity, because there were times I used to go out without anything on my head. And I used to feel that people used to stare at me and, make remarks and all that. At the time there were wigs, but they were all synthetic wigs. And when my husband said, shall we get a wig? I said, no, as it is, I'm drawing attention to myself and I don't want to do it for an artificial wig. And also we have a breast prosthesis project. And at the time I had my mastectomy done, we didn't have the breast prosthesis as well. So when I joined the Indira Cancer Trust, after my orientation, I selected the hair and wig donation program because I felt that was something very close to me. And we had the patients coming. The video that is playing is about the hair and wig donation. So we have the patients coming in, and there's a small procedure they have to follow. And they are given their wigs, custom made to their measurements. And when they walk in to make their applications for the wigs, they're so down and out and so low, and I know I have gone through it, so I feel and I used to feel for them. But once they come back for their wigs and they have their wigs on their head and they go out so happy, and you could see the happiness on their faces. And the requests are huge. We have about 8 to 10 patients a week who come in with loss of hair and wanting wigs, because it is losing one's hair for a woman is a huge stigma in Sri Lanka. So I'm happy that I was able to connect with the Indira Cancer Trust and be able to help people and see them going out of the trust with a smile on their faces, having got a breast prosthesis and a wig. And also all the other programs that the trust do with about 500 volunteers who are working with us. So at this point, I must say thank you to the Indira Cancer Trust for giving me the opportunity as well. And thank you to all of you all for having listened to me and my story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Chintika, for sharing your experience. I know which means a lot for someone who's battling with breast cancer. I can see a few questions are also flowing. Well, HealthNet's purpose of purpose of existence is to heal the world through unparalleled healthcare solutions. HealthNet has recently launched the mobile app as HealthNet Pharma Assistant, which saves all your prescriptions on the app itself. So you don't have to go through the hassle of finding your missing prescription. We call it no more miscription. Maintain all your family prescription in the app and you can become the family hero. And finally, you can reorder your medication on time due to timely reminders that you get through the app. With that, we'll move on to the question and answer session. There's one question. In your opinion, in Sri Lanka, also seeing a rise in breast cancer incidences, as with the rest of Asia. And we are seeing more younger people being diagnosed.
Angika, I think I can answer that question. Sri Lanka is actually very different to the rest of the Southeast Asian countries because everywhere else in our region, the number one, not breast cancer. So we are actually mimicking more of the West. For example, UK, the number one female cancer is breast cancer. The reasons for that, we do not know as yet. But quite rightly, I think the incidence seems to increase. Now, if you look at the data from the past and current data, you see that more women are being detected for breast cancer now. This can be due to many reasons because our early detection program, screening is more awareness is there. So it could be that. And also if you look at now, cancer is part of non-communicable diseases. So if you look at non-communicable diseases as a whole, now that includes the heart diseases, diabetes, then the respiratory diseases. Sri Lanka is the highest country in Southeast Asia in terms of mortality. That means in terms of deaths and also morbidity. That means in terms of illness. So we are leading, and we are also leading in breast cancer. And also if you look at the stage of diagnosis, I think Dr. Janaki also mentioned this. We tend to detect patients at a later stage. So what we want is, yes, we have, because of the early detection programs, because of examining yourself more, because of doing the clinical breast examination, because of going into the mammograms if needed, we should be able to detect it early because we have a good mechanism in place, but that detection should detect cancers at an earlier stage, which gives a better outcome.
Thank you, Dr. Lanka. I think you addressed it well. And we have another question. Can abortion or miscarriages be a risk factor for breast cancer? Dr. Sachini can answer that question.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a relationship between abortions and miscarriage and breast cancer. So most of 75% of breast cancers are hormone sensitive. Dr. Lanka and Dr. Janaki clearly mentioned. So if you think of abortion and miscarriages, yes, the hormone changes are happening, but there's no direct relationship between breast cancer and abortion or miscarriage.
And thank you, Dr. Sanchini. And we have another question. What type of doctor, what type of an oncologist should I see if I think I have a breast cancer? I think she's asking whether to go to an oncologist or an oncosurgeon.
Yeah, I think if first you have to go to oncosurgeon because the surgery is the treatment of choice when it detected early. If the surgeon handle first part, and depending on the risk. Nowadays, the cancer treatment is multidisciplinary. So one doctor, one consultant will not manage one particular patient. It's essentially the multidisciplinary approach. So each and every consultant, oncosurgeon, the general surgeon, surgical team inputs, radiological inputs, histopathologist where the cytology is seen, and the oncologist. So it's the multidisciplinary approach. So then you don't need to worry to whom I should go. Whoever the person who reached quickly, then everyone will get together and decide the ideal treatment plan for that particular individual tumor.
Thank you. Will my breast cancer treatment affect my ability to have a baby?
I think Dr. Sachini can answer that.
Definitely not. So even we have young patients who are unmarried, got cancer treatment, got best cure from breast cancer, then they get married, they have kids, and they are coming with kids in follow-up. So it won't affect childbearing. Of course, if it's hormone sensitive tumor, then we should understand if we become pregnant, then the hormone surge will be higher again. So then the feeding of cancer cells will be high. So then we have to make sure that the cancer is completely cured and there's no risk. Then it is always individualized. Then that particular person can go ahead and get pregnant.
Thank you, Dr. Sachini.
I think have I.
Yes, thank you. I think you addressed it well. I think the rest of the questions are some of the repetitions and some of the areas you have already touched upon during the session. So I think that's about the questions that we have. So I wish to make an announcement at this moment that HealthNet is happy to offer any cancer-related medicine at the wholesale price to any patient. And also, for all senior citizens aged above 55, we offer 10% discount for lifetime. So I think with that, we have come to the end of this webinar. And I make this opportunity to thank, firstly, thank you for all our viewers who joined us on this webinar on breast cancer in the era of COVID-19. And I especially take this opportunity to thank the National Cancer Program and Dr. Janaki Vidanapathirana and Sir John Kotalawala Defense University and Dr. Sachini Rasnayaka. Of course, Dr. Lanka Jayasuri Disanayaka, Mrs. Chintika Dimel, and the team at Indira Cancer Trust. Last but not least, my team at HealthNet. And thank you everyone for supporting to make this webinar a successful one. And thank you everyone for joining. And I wish you good night and be safe and take care of yourself.